Welcome to the best of first-person episodes from Phantoms and Monsters. Please like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you'll be notified of all future uploads.
Rare Andromedan encounter. My wife and I were taking a late-night stroll through a wooded area near our home. We know the area well and had frequented the grove many times. As we approached the wooded area, we could see lights from the houses beyond the grove shining through the trees. As we approached, we noticed there appeared to be shadows darting through the trees. We immediately thought there were children playing around down there. We decided to go and check it out and possibly to scare the kids for fun. We got close to the trees and realized there were no children in the grove of trees. No one could be seen at all. We took a side entrance into the grove and walked into the trees, wondering if the shadows we saw simply came from the light from the houses in the distance, like maybe our eyes were playing tricks on us. The grove was well lit as there was a lot of moonlight and virtually no leaves left on the trees. It was fairly cold. It happened before the first snowfall and dead leaves littered the ground. As we walked holding hands into the grove, we abruptly heard a footfall in the leaves. At that time, the unknown entity crossed our path. It moved in glimpses as if under a strobe light, only no light was given off. As it crossed our path, it was visible one moment, then gone the next. This alternated as it strode in front of us. It smiled at us and appeared to be waving. I wasn't prepared for this, and seeing it froze me in fear. The entity was a biped that stood taller than me at 5'10". It was completely naked, though no genitalia could be seen. Where human genitals should have been, there appeared to be nothing there, as you would imagine a doll would look. Its skin was a dark grayish color. It had very small black eyes which reflected the moonlight. Its ears were tight against its head, the ears came to a point. The jaw was bigger than any human's. The jawline went all the way up the sides of its head, as if its smile stared behind its ears almost. Rows of sharp white teeth were visible as it smiled at us. It had slits for a nose that were slightly flared at the top. I can't remember how many fingers it had, but it definitely had digits that it held up as it waved. The encounter lasted all but a few minutes. The instant I was able, I twisted my wife's arm, and I grabbed hold of her wrist. I'm twice my wife's size with a very athletic build. I ran at top speed, literally dragging her in the dirt through the leaves, out of the grove, up the grass hill, through the soccer field and into the street. As we reached the street, I noticed my wife was yelling and screaming at me to stop and go back, she said, as she badly wanted to make contact with the entity. But my fear overpowered me and I dragged us both into the house. From our doorstep we could see the grove of trees. I immediately said, "Don't say anything," as I didn't want our testimonials to become tainted with any kind of suggestion from one another. I separated us into different rooms and had us write down our testimonials of what we saw. To no surprise, we both described the same entity with the same features. This event has affected my life very negatively, as my family thinks my wife and I made it up or are just plain lying to get attention or something. Not knowing what this entity was keeps me up many nights. I must have thought about every possibility. Could it have been a spirit, a human in Hollywood-style movie makeup, maybe a Scooby-Doo type hologram projector, or even an alien? To this day, not knowing eats at the back of my mind. I fully know aliens exist. With the vastness of space and the countless stars in the universe, it becomes clear that we cannot possibly be the only life. Even though I can feel my heart racing as I recall the event. Did I miss out on a 1 in a billion chance to possibly communicate with another intelligent life form? I only have one regret in my life, and that regret is not going back to find out for sure what it was. If we're ever going to communicate with beings like this, if indeed it was one, we need to have love at the center of our awareness, so we don't flee in fear for no reason. For a long time I never told anyone but my closest friends and my immediate family for fear that people would think we were crazy. But it's come to a point that this itch in the back of my brain has gotten so bad I feel it necessary to tell others of what we saw. I've become so obsessed with searching the web for possible information on the existence of alien life that I often spend hours of my time sifting through garbage on the internet, just trying to find someone somewhere who has seen an entity like the one we saw. I'm currently attending a trade school for an HVACR program, And in less than 1 year I'm going to have my EPA3 certification so I can handle refrigerants. I am not crazy.
Alien encounter near Nageezi, New Mexico. My wife and I do not want to be public with our names and who we are. It seems since you already have my phone number, I would like to ask you to be discreet with the information you have already compiled. I do not have good health and had a new heart valve put in last March. My wife and I are just a grandmother and grandfather. I'm a 100% disabled veteran since 2004. We are both 65 years of age. Please respect that. On August 25, 2017 at approximately 8:30 p.m., my wife and I were looking forward to getting to a location where we could get settled in for the night. We were riding in our 37-foot diesel pusher at a speed of about 60 miles per hour, slightly downhill, traveling southeast on Highway 550, and a few miles south of Nageezi, New Mexico. We had been talking about how the roads had changed 2 lanes to 4 lanes since the last time I had driven. Out of nowhere I saw a light flash in front of me. It had come from my left. I instinctively looked to my left, and I saw 2 creatures sitting about 2 foot apart, very bright craft which was at my eye level while sitting in our motorhome. I instantly seemed to take a mind picture of what I was seeing. At that time we were maybe 80 feet and gaining on their position. My first thought was, is this real? The closer we got, the more positive I was that what I was seeing was real when I made eye contact. Some points I saw were: the craft did not appear to have a windshield. The panel in behind the creatures gave off a very bright light, as did the floor and ceiling. It was as bright as an operating room under full lighting. There was a small stem that came up from the floor in front of the creatures. It stood about 40 inches out of the floor. It seemed to support a small control panel that was thinner than a carton of cigarettes. The guy on my left had his gopher-looking hand resting on it. The moment I saw them, the individuals were looking down the road, as if looking for something to arrive. There was a truck coming up the hill toward us and about a 1/8 of a mile away. The craft seemed to swing and rotate from the shoulder on the other side to a lane away was at my sight, and maybe 20 foot away. Once they rotated enough that their faces was 180% to us, he saw us and disappeared. As we drove on down the hill I looked in my mirrors and side camera, and didn't see anything related to them after that. A description of the creatures we witnessed. Both individuals had a skin tone about the same as mine. I'm a white male. They had large heads in an upside-down teardrop shape, very large black eyes, a small mouth and 2 small holes for a nose. There were holes for the ears, but only a nub for ears. Very much like the drawing you would see from Roswell, except not green, but green uniforms. The one on the right had a very smooth face. The one on the left appeared to be older with facial lines. The one on my left wrinkled the right side of his mouth when he saw me, but they were talking when we interrupted them. I made eye contact with the one on my left and looked directly into his large black eyes. His eyes had the finest surface I had ever seen. The eyes had no abrasions or scratches, no dust or mucus. I noticed that under the surface of this perfectly clear outer surface of the eye was a grid of many individual eyes, like a fly's eyes, but a much smoother super-fine glass surface. Their bodies were skinny and were illuminated with a greenish glowing uniform. Also there were roll-type cuffs that also glowed, but were beige in color. They reminded me of stick people. The arms and the torso were slender and about the diameter of a very small child of 6 or 7 years of age. The hands reminded me of the shape of gophers. But these creatures are large in height and reach. The hand appeared to me to be a lethal weapon. Their torso was long and skinny, and appeared to be weak if depended on. But I believe the suit they wear is their body strength. The back wall is very hard to explain because I believe the means in which they traveled was behind that wall. The wall was very brightly illuminated. It appeared to be divided into about 18-inch cubes, but wasn't. It was a flat surface. The light seemed to be boiling along the edges of each panel in the colors of light greenish, blue, violet. The back panel was incredibly beautiful and something I'll never forget it. We could not see the outer body of the craft because we were looking into very bright light. As for hearing anything, I felt I heard them communicating when we approached. I wear hearing aids and they were screeching like a fax machine. I looked at Google Maps at the location of the incident and found something interesting. It's as if bulldozer work had been done. I have no idea what the bright object by the road might be. This could be something natural, but they turned and went somewhere. I hope you have taken time to consider what I shared with you. I would like to know what is going on there. I hope to go back and spend a month or 2 searching for them.
This is Lon Strickler. If you like this program, It would help us if you would give it a thumbs up. Then subscribe and click the bell icon so you get notification when we upload new first-person encounters. We have many more to come very soon. And by the way, if you have a suggestion or an experience of your own, please leave a comment.